Mayor Marc Laredo presented his first budget to the City Council on Monday night, stating he focused on the basics and looked to the future for any necessary improvements or changes. Here are some highlights. You can also watch the entire presentation on NewTV's NewGov YouTube channel.
Mayor Marc Laredo stated this year's budget is focusing on the basics, like excellent schools, outstanding public safety, dependable city services, older adult services, economic development, and arts and culture. In order to build this budget, Laredo said he applied what he heard from his interactions with Newton residents. The first is to provide a sustainable financial future by properly funding pensions for retired city employees.
Mayors Warren and Fuller started us on the path to fully fund our pension obligations. But the yearly increases in pension funding, much greater than the growth of the rest of the municipal budget, we're putting an ever greater strain on the budget, making it more difficult to fund our schools and city services. When I took office on January 1, less than 4 months ago, we faced two looming deadlines. A state law requiring us to fully fund our pension obligations by 2040, and more importantly, a much more aggressive deadline set by the Retirement Board of fully funding in 2032. Therefore, we quickly convened a team of city councilors, school committee members, members of the public with extensive financial experience, and senior members of my administration to review the situation. They arrived at the unanimous recommendation. Unanimous recommendation doesn't happen very often when you bring lots of different folks to the table, that the city should issue a pension obligation bond to pay off all or most of our pension obligation now and allow us to smooth the payments over a longer period of time. The pension bond is a critical step, but it's not the only one that we needed to take. We needed to get some more immediate relief right now. And we also had to give ourselves the flexibility to decide exactly when to issue the pension bond, because we want to get it just right and take advantage of the lowest rates possible. So therefore, we went to the Retirement Board about a month ago and asked the Retirement Board to extend the deadline for funding our retirement obligation from 2032 to 2035. And in exchange, we said that we would support an increase in the COLA, which is the cost of living increase that retirees get, from the first $15,000 to the first $18,000, phased in over a 3-year period. I am very grateful to the Retirement Board that it voted unanimously in favor of that proposal, and we have docketed a joint item with the Retirement Board asking for your approval of that increase in the COLA. I will say this is good financially and is fair for our retirees. It provides them with a modest but needed increase in their cost of living. They don't otherwise get that beyond that first 15, hopefully now 18,000. And as I said a moment ago, gives us tremendous flexibility as we move forward.
Another sustainable budgeting process is never budgeting 100% of the anticipated revenues, but also never being too conservative, which can lead to an excess amount of free cash.
This year we did it differently. And we did it differently for a reason. We want to give the schools and our municipal departments the expected money they need. So they're not looking for free cash later on to fund operating shortfalls, but we are fair, open, and transparent as to what we have right from day one. And that's what we've done. So we budgeted to 99% of our anticipated revenues, a higher number than we've done in the past, but fortunately, We are pretty stable when it comes to our tax base. Most of our revenue is generated from residential property taxes. It's a fairly predictable and stable source of income. We don't face the fluctuations that folks in other communities face when they have commercial valuations that may be dropping rapidly. And we therefore are satisfied that we have struck the right balance in our budgeting process.
With those two funding changes in the works, the city can now focus on funding key priorities. An over 7% increase in the Newton Public Schools budget, fully supporting police and fire departments, including dispatchers, an increase in the older adult services budget, funding for the economic development team, expanding the newly formed arts and culture department, and funding to support the creation of a new city website set to be launched by the end of this year. The funding changes also allow for future projects to start. One is the stormwater management system. Mayor Laredo will be asking residents to approve an increase in utility fees to make sure flooding doesn't happen during rainstorms because of climate change.
While keeping our water and sewer rates low, I will be asking the City Council to approve a much-needed increase in our stormwater management fee. Collectively, this will result in an average of a 4.9% increase in total utilities fees next year. I want to be very clear about something, not only to members of this body, but to the public at whole. I do not ask for additional funds lightly. But we cannot afford to make the mistakes, or rather repeat the mistakes of years past, when we did not fund our infrastructure properly, when we did not fund our pension obligations properly. And we can't afford at this juncture, at this time, to stay stagnant and burden our children and our grandchildren with a failing stormwater management system. That's why this work is imperative, because we've got to get this underway, and we don't have any more time to wait.
There are other future projects that need to be taken care of. Mayor Laredo points out the three that are on the top of the list for feasibility studies.
A new police headquarters. I've said over and over and over again, and I'll keep on saying it, our police headquarters is completely and totally inadequate for the needs of modern day policing. We have a great fire headquarters. It's a testament to what the city can do when it needs to do it for public safety. And now it's our police department's turn. We cannot have locker rooms that don't have proper facilities for female officers. We can't have holding cells that are not appropriate for prisoners. We cannot have a police station that literally leaks. That's unacceptable. It's demoralizing. And so we'll be doing that feasibility study. Second, we will be looking at a feasibility study for renovation of Newton South High School. Newton South High School is a great school. Newton North has a brand new school. It's time to give some TLC to Newton South High School. This work is long overdue. The exact scope of it is to be determined, but certainly we're going to be looking at the basics like roofs. We're going to be looking at science facilities. We're going to be looking at other things of that nature, but it's important that we get that feasibility study started now. And the third piece is a new ward or combination of Ward and Underwood Elementary School. Ward and Underwood Elementary Schools are the two oldest elementary school buildings in the city. They're 100 years old. Ward School is not even properly handicapped accessible, so folks with disabilities literally cannot use that building properly. To me, that's unacceptable. That's not how we do business in Newton. Now, whether we are going to have a single Ward school followed by an Underwood school, or we're going to combine, it's going to depend on two things. First, Josh Morse is working on an examination of all our prior work to determine if consolidation is even reasonable. If it's not reasonable, we're not going to kick the can down the road any further. We're not going to waste more time. We're going to get started with that feasibility study for Ward right now. And if consolidation is reasonable, then it's the decision of the school committee with lots of public input as to whether you then want to consolidate or not. And that's a difficult question that the school committee may have to answer. But I don't want the school committee spending its time examining that question if consolidation is not reasonable in the first place. But either way, we have money for a feasibility study for that project in this year's budget.
You can watch the entire presentation on NewTV's NewGov YouTube channel, as well as see the documents on the city's website. Jen Adams, Newton News, Newton Center.